A phone call that lasted 4 seconds. Then silence. A man captured on camera running through an airport, and then gone. A woman who walked out of her apartment on the morning of September 11th, and was never seen again. A photograph left on a roadside, of a girl who was already missing, and a man who walked into a bar full of people, and vanished before he reached the exit. 5 people. 5 disappearances. 5 cases that investigators, detectives, and governments have spent years trying to solve. None of them could. These people were here. And then, they weren't. And nobody knows why. You are about to watch 5 people disappear. In real time. Through the evidence left behind. Pay attention to the details. Because the details are all that's left. January 2nd, 2000. Zebb Quinn is 18 years old. He works at a Walmart in Asheville, North Carolina. He has a girlfriend. He has plans. He has his whole life mapped out in front of him. That night, he asks his supervisor for the rest of the shift off. He says he needs to go look at a car he wants to buy. He clocks out at 9:15 p.m. and is never seen again. His co-worker, Robert Jason Owens, was the last person to see him. Owens claims they drove together briefly that night, looking at the car. Nothing unusual. They parted ways. But Zebb's phone records tell a different story. After leaving Owens, Zebb received a page. One page. Whoever sent it used a payphone. The call was 4 seconds long. And whatever that message said, Zebb turned his car around immediately and drove in the opposite direction. 2 weeks later, Zebb's car was found in the parking lot of a local grocery store. The engine was running. The hazard lights were on. Inside, a live puppy and a woman's jacket, neither of which belonged to Zebb Quinn. Nobody knew where the puppy came from. Nobody knew whose jacket it was. Nobody knew how long the car had been sitting there, running, waiting, for a driver who never came back. Robert Jason Owens became the primary person of interest almost immediately. Within weeks of Zebb's disappearance, Owens was arrested, not for Zebb's disappearance, for something else entirely. He had beaten a relative so severely they were left with permanent injuries. He was convicted. He went to prison. And from behind bars, he maintained his innocence regarding Zebb Quinn. He still does. In 2015, a woman named Misty Taylor came forward. She was Owens' aunt. She told investigators that on the night of Zebb's disappearance, Owens had arrived at her home covered in blood, that he had cleaned himself up, that he had told her nothing, and that she had said nothing for 15 years, because she was afraid. In 2019, nearly 20 years after he disappeared, human remains were found on a rural property in Buncombe County. DNA testing confirmed it. They were Zebb Quinn. He was 18 years old when he disappeared. He was found in pieces, in the ground, 2 decades later. But the cause of death could not be determined, and no one has ever been charged with his murder. Zebb Quinn was found, but his killer was not. The puppy was never explained. The jacket was never identified. The payphone message was never traced. And the person who paged him that night, the person whose 4-second message made an 18-year-old boy turn his car around and drive toward his death, has never been named. So who sent that page? And what did it say? Lars Mittank was a 28-year-old German man. In July 2014, he traveled to Varna, Bulgaria with a group of friends. A beach holiday. Sunday music. Nothing unusual. Until a fight broke out. Lars got into it with a group of men at a bar. He took a hit to the head. Nothing serious, or so everyone thought. His friends flew home as scheduled. Lars stayed behind. A doctor had told him not to fly with his injury, so he checked into a hotel alone. And that's when something changed. He began sending frantic messages to his mother. He told her he didn't feel safe. He told her not to trust the men at the hotel. He told her something was wrong. He cancelled his credit card. He stopped sleeping, and he asked her to send him money in secret, so no one would know. The next morning, Lars went to see a doctor to get medical clearance to fly. He was in the doctor's waiting room, sitting, calm, and then something outside the window caught his attention. He stood up slowly, picked up his bag, left his luggage at the hotel, left his passport, left everything, and ran out of the clinic. Security cameras at Varna Airport captured him next, running, full sprint, through the terminal. He scaled a fence surrounding the airport grounds. He dropped down into a field on the other side. He ran into the tree line, and he was gone. The footage is real. You can watch it. And when you do, you will see in his face exactly what pure terror looks like. His family hired private investigators. Bulgarian and German police searched the area. Dogs tracked his scent into the forest and lost it at a river. His face was on posters across Varna. His mother flew to Bulgaria herself and searched the streets for weeks. A man matching his description was reportedly seen in Romania days later. And then, nothing. There was no evidence of psychosis in Lars Mittank's history. No prior mental illness. No drug use. He was a healthy, stable young man who went on holiday with his friends. And 11 days later, he ran through an airport in absolute terror from something no one else could see, and vanished into a forest. He has never been found. So what did Lars Mittank see outside that clinic window? September 10th, 2001, the day before the world changed. Sneha and Philip is a 32-year-old physician living in Manhattan. She leaves her apartment at 2:40 in the afternoon. A security camera at a department store on 16th Street captures her browsing inside. That footage is the last confirmed sighting of Sneha and Philip alive. She never comes home. And the next morning, the Twin Towers fall. Her family initially believed she had run toward the towers, that she had gone to help. She was a doctor. It would have been in her nature. Her name was added to the official September 11th memorial. She was presumed to be a victim of the attacks, but investigators weren't so sure, because the timeline didn't fit. And the more they looked, the more questions appeared. Sneha had been struggling. Her medical license had recently been under review. She had been caught viewing patient files she had no clearance to access. There were reports of erratic behavior. Her marriage had fractures. And in the months before she vanished, she had been spending time in parts of the city that raised questions. Questions her family refused to acknowledge, and investigators could not ignore. A New York court initially ruled her death a suicide. Then that ruling was overturned, then reinstated. Her husband fought for years to have her recognized as a September 11th victim. In 2008, a court ruled in his favor. Her name remains on the memorial. But the investigation was never officially closed, because nobody ever established where she went after that department store, or why. Sneha and Philip walked out of a department store on the afternoon of September 10th, 2001. and the chaos of the following morning swallowed her disappearance whole. Was she a victim of the attacks? Was she already gone before the first tower fell? Did the date of her disappearance save someone from ever truly looking for her? She was a doctor, a wife, a daughter, and she walked into a Manhattan afternoon and ceased to exist. So where did she go in those final hours? Every morning, Tara Calico rode her bicycle along Highway 47 in New Mexico. 19 miles. The same route. The same road. She was 19 years old. She was a student. She was fearless. On September 20th, 1988, her mother begged her not to ride that day. She had a bad feeling. Tara laughed it off, put on her headphones, rode out of the driveway, and never came back. Her bicycle was never found. Her Walkman was never found. Witnesses reported seeing a pickup truck following her closely on the highway that morning. One witness reported seeing her forced into a vehicle, but descriptions were vague. The truck was never identified, and Tara Calico simply disappeared into the New Mexico desert. 9 months later, a Polaroid photograph was found in the parking lot of a convenience store in Port St. Joe, Florida, nearly 2,000 miles from New Mexico. The photograph showed two people, a young woman and a young boy, both bound, both gagged, both lying in the back of a van. The woman in the photograph looked exactly like Tara Calico. The FBI analyzed the photograph. The Los Alamos National Laboratory analyzed it. Both concluded the woman was consistent with Tara Calico. A book visible in the image was identified as one Tara owned. The boy was never identified. The van was never traced. And the person who dropped that photograph in a Florida parking lot was never found. More Polaroids surfaced over the years. Different locations, different states, always found abandoned in parking lots, always showing bound figures, always analyzed, always inconclusive. Tara's mother dedicated the rest of her life to finding her daughter. She died in 2006. Without answers. The case remains open. Tara Calico has never been found. A photograph was left in a parking lot 2,000 miles from where a girl disappeared. Someone left it there deliberately. Someone wanted it to be found. Or someone wanted it to be a warning. Tara Calico rode her bicycle into the morning and never came back. And somewhere out there, someone knows exactly what happened on Highway 47. They have always known, and they have never said a word. March 31st, 2006. Columbus, Ohio. Brian Shaffer is a 27-year-old medical student. He goes out with friends to celebrate spring break. They visit several bars along a strip known as the Short North. At 1:55 in the morning, Brian is captured on a bar's security camera. He is talking to two women outside the entrance of a bar called Ugly Tuna Salona. He is laughing. He seems fine. He waves goodbye to the women. He turns toward the bar entrance. He walks inside and is never seen again. Every exit of the Ugly Tuna Salona was covered by security cameras that night. Every single one. Investigators reviewed every second of footage from every camera. Brian Shaffer entered that bar, and he never came out. Not through the front, not through the back, not through any emergency exit. He walked through a door and ceased to exist on the other side of it. His father launched a relentless search. Posters, private investigators, Media campaigns. His disappearance was featured on national news. The bar was searched floor to ceiling. Crawl spaces, roof access, utility corridors. Investigators found nothing. Not a trace. Not a hair. Not a fingerprint beyond where the camera last saw him. His friend Clint Florence was with him that night. He was one of the last people to see Brian before the bar. He cooperated with police. He passed a polygraph. He said Brian had seemed completely normal all evening. Happy even. Looking forward to going home for spring break. There was no argument. No distress. No sign that anything was wrong. And then Brian simply stepped through a door and stepped out of existence. In 2008, a woman contacted investigators. She claimed she had seen a man matching Brian's description on a cruise ship. Dazed, confused, unable to say who he was, investigators pursued the lead. The cruise line cooperated. The manifests were checked. Every passenger was accounted for. No one matching Brian's description was ever identified on any ship. Brian Shaffer walked into a bar in Columbus, Ohio. Every exit was filmed. No one saw him leave. No body was ever found. No evidence of foul play was ever established. He was a medical student with his whole future ahead of him. His girlfriend was waiting for him at home, and he walked through a door, and the cameras on the other side recorded nothing. So where did Brian Shaffer go? And how does a man disappear from a room with no exits? 5 people, all of them here, all of them present, all of them with people who loved them and waited for them and spent years searching empty rooms and dark roads and cold case files. Zebb was 18. Lars was 28. Sneha was 32. Tara was 19. Brian was 27. They had names. They had faces. They had mornings and routines and small ordinary moments that nobody thought to memorize, because nobody knew they would be the last ones. Every single one of these cases has the same wound at the center of it. A moment, a door, a road, a camera, a last sighting, and then nothing. As if something reached into the ordinary fabric of a Tuesday or a Thursday or a Monday morning and pulled a person through it and sealed it back up behind them, without a seam, without a trace, without an answer. These cases are not cold because investigators stopped caring. They are cold because whoever is responsible is very, very good at silence. And silence is the most dangerous thing in the world, because it sounds exactly like nothing happened, when everything did. Zebb Quinn, Lars Mittank, Sneha and Philip, Tara Calico, Brian Shaffer. Say their names. Remember their faces. Because the only thing worse than disappearing is being forgotten. If something about these cases stayed with you, good. It should. These are not stories. These are gaps in the record. Places where the truth should be and isn't. NightTrace exists for the cases that didn't make the evening news. The ones that were buried quietly. Closed without resolution. Forgotten by design. If you want to keep looking, subscribe. We'll keep finding them, one case at a time, before the trail goes cold again.